All right, everybody, Payne Moore again. I'm going to put the phone in Do Not Disturb. Got two phones on here, and when the one rings, the other one wants to ring with it. I'm going to show you here what I'm going to be discussing. I'm going to be discussing this post right here. I'm going to read it. Again, it's right there. I'll try to show you again later for those that come on late. So I tell you, one thing that is wonderful to me is that cult busting is kind of like being in multi-level marketing. You make money while you sleep, right? You got people on both sides of the world, all around, and while you're sleeping, some that should be sleeping are not, as we see, but then other ones are on the other side of the world, and they're reading and they're listening, and so it's a wonderful thing. And I'll show you again for those of you that just popped on here. I'm going to be doing we'll call this a response video. And I just want to point some things out here that are glaringly obvious, except to those that are privy to hearsay. We'll just say it that way. So this post I did January 29th. It currently has 30 comments, 1,300 post reach. And this is a fella that I'll say this in the onset before I get into this, because some of this stuff is going to be pertinent. I received 5 photographs on my phone of this individual last July 22nd, I think it was. Anyway, I have double check, but it's no big deal. Last July. So didn't do anything with it. I sent it to one person. One that I'll just tell you, I sent it to my wife. Sent it to her. I said, look, another one gone, or, what's this? And just again, trying to get her to see what I see. So sent it to her. But as far as posting it publicly, making the 5 photographs public, absolutely not. No. Because I knew at the time, okay, obviously this person is on his way out of the Church of God Restoration cult. That was very obvious. But it was also obvious to me that had I made this public, as I'm being accused of doing, to across the board, the way they talk, I would have hindered that. No question about it. Okay. But I didn't do that. I waited till, actually, I wasn't waiting on anything. Just put it on the back shelf, forgot about it. And then just this last week, I was told that this person was leaving the cult. So, okay. Well, let me know when it happens. Okay. So I was told it happened. And then I was told, hey, make it public. Okay. So originally I had posted a picture of the group that he was a part of in the cult, and he contacted me. And he was not happy that I put the picture up. So in the process of speaking to him on Messenger, it came out that what he was upset about was the fact that I had his brothers, as he called them, on my site. He said they don't want to be on my site. Okay, these members and former members, and I'm going to read you some of the stuff. Their minds have been so evil affected against me for various whatever that. And we're going to get into it. I exposed some of this earlier, but I'm going to read some stuff now. Their minds have been so evil affected against me that they're not even thinking straight. And we're going to point it out. So this is what I wrote in the post. When someone left the COGR, I would hear Ray and Stefan often say, I'm glad they're gone. Which from them, for them to say that, the interpretation of that is, I'm glad they're going to hell. Because you can't be saved unless you're with them. As a born-again lover of truth, I always never liked hearing when someone left, as I was deceived at the time about the group. I believed it was the church. Now I can truly say, I'm glad he is gone, for no matter where he go, he is better off than being in the devil's fold. So, after I was contacted, he said, look, you can put my pictures on there. He said, but don't put the group pictures on there. I don't want them on there. Fine. So I put his picture on there. Well, immediately, somebody complained about the picture. And so I went and I blotted out. Actually, I cropped the picture. And I blotted out the reference to this thing they were talking about, this Tinder. Okay? And so I never mentioned Tinder. I just posted this picture. Okay? I wrote, glad he gone. Absolutely. Fantastic. Glad he's gone. But some are not happy or content therewith. And reading down through here, you know, there's some former members that are speaking well. They're happy that he's left. And they're speaking like normal people would speak. Okay? And you read down through here, and then all of a sudden, you see some comments about, you know, some kind of making light of it, that, you know, hey, it'd be neat if they did a song on this, and then there's some back and forth and some fun stuff, you know, and then all of a sudden, a former member comes on here. Another former member who I've had many talks with, and the mind isn't right. Adam, why in the world do you do the things you do? I'm going to answer that right now. So that everybody hearing this message and reading these pages does not end up in the same boat that I ended up in. I don't want to be two fellows in the same ship. I don't want to see another person fellowshipping these people, because the end thereof is death. And so that's why I do what I do. And am I going to do that perfect? No, probably not. But I know this. Perfection is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So even if I was talking to Brother Lee earlier about, you know, obeying the word of the Lord, and I told him about how one time I almost got beat up, literally. The Lord told me, don't tell him, and I told him anyway. And I literally just about got beat. And so we was talking about obeying the Lord, you know, and so my point is that, you know, I might slip up. I might. Possibility. Okay, I'm a man. And I'm not a man as Ray is saying I'm perfect. That's not me. Okay? And I don't want you to think that I'm perfect either. But I do want you to know that my purpose and my intent is to do all things well and in accord with God's will. But I may make a mistake. In that, even if I did everything, always obeyed the leading of the Lord, even if I walked on water, folks, we know what happened to he that walked on water, don't we? In fact, both of them that walked on water, we know what happened to them, don't we? So even when they did things perfect, they still got killed. So I don't expect everybody to follow the truth. Don't expect everybody to love the truth. Don't expect everybody to see or accept or even want. However, when I see things like this, that to me is trying to circumvent what I'm trying to do, which is warn the flock and the public. There's over 15,000 people a month that come through this page, that view these articles, view these comments, watch the videos, and only the Lord knows where they're all at. I know that it's everything from A to Z, all over the world. Okay? Everything from non-Christian atheists to Muslims. And everything in between. So, when I see stuff like this, it's like, okay, this is nothing more than diversion. It's lying because it's not true, but it's born from somebody speaking lies in hypocrisy behind the scenes. You go back 2.5 years or so, and I've not changed anything. Nothing. I've done 5 or 6 interviews where I interviewed former members and posted the videos at their wish. They contacted me or I contacted, yeah, let's do it. Did it. Well, guess what? They don't want to do it now. Why? Because somebody's been working behind the scenes, stirring up the believers against the brethren. Evil affecting their minds, and this is the kind of stuff. So, why am I doing what I do? To prevent people like you and me from getting wrapped up in this kind of a confusion. To try to prevent you from falling headlong into the ditch that's on both sides of a straight and narrow way. That's why I'm doing what I do. I'll never understand. Well, I hope you do understand. I hope you watch this video and you take heed to the things which you have seen and heard here, and you do understand. And you accept it as true, and you lay aside the portion of your mind that's been evil affected against me. Because that's what's producing this kind of stuff right here. Why do you feel you need to broadcast to the world that Davis had a Tinder account? Never felt that way. Never. In fact, I already mentioned, I'm going over this post for you all that just came on. This is the post right here. I'll flip it around again. I read what I wrote. I blotted out, I think this, originally I had cropped this, or I cropped it after the fact, I believe. I think it said Tinder up here and Tinder down here or something like that. But anyway, only those that are privy to the cult knew anything about this. That's it. And then those whose minds were evil affected by the devil and his minions going around behind the scenes running their mouth. Okay? And they're the ones, as I'm going to point out, that are making an issue out of this. And to quote Jerry Jr. that passed away, they're making mountains out of molehills here, and they're actually the ones that are doing what they're accusing me of. And when I look at the likes, it's primarily all former members that are liking these things. Liking or loving them. There's one in here that I'm not sure if that's a former member, but I've seen some shady comments from him in the past, because it's always the same. It's, and I've seen people change on this platform. I've seen them change. I've seen them go from absolute contrariness to being reasonable. He says you're hurting innocent people. So they're painting this picture. Now, you got to think, you've got a cult. And these people are still talking to former cult members. When I talked to Ray 2 weeks ago, he said he still texts one of the former members. Still does to this day, he says. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know for a fact that these cult leaders and these cult members reach out to former members that have left, and they have been running their mouth for 4 years against me because they don't want this message to get out. So he's got his big line up here. A lot of these things are said without context, without any grounding at all, and they're just put out here with the intent to harm others. It's not, they don't really, they really don't, they're not coming from, these people are hurt, they're damaged, and they're speaking from that position. They don't have love in them. And you can see it in their comments. I replied to him, this post doesn't mention Tinder and I'm sending you a private message. Had a good talk with him. Here's another one. And I think I even interviewed this person. And this is ridiculous. I'm so glad I left before you were posting on social media. It's more of a hindrance than a help. No one wants their personal information put out there. Now, I want you to think about, in light of what is on this post, and compare that with what she is writing here. It's not there. But what is there, obviously what is there, is somebody behind the scenes doing this, running their mouth. Why don't you let each person tell their own story? I would absolutely love that. And that's what this platform is for. Now, some of them have chosen to go off to, while they're saying, now get this, while they're telling me they don't like my methods, they go over to TikTok and they do the same thing I'm doing over here. Except some of them even exaggerated some things and got letters sent to them by lawyers, cease and desist, because they were saying some things that were a little shady. I've never gotten no letter. I've not even gotten an excommunication letter. Why? Because probably Ray knows if he sends me one, it's in a frame right here. And right there. Everybody's going to see it. She says, if they choose to. Sure. Like I said, when I got the 5 pictures last July, I didn't tell nobody except one. Didn't blaze it abroad on here. It's ridiculous. It's not your job to do it, she says. There would be a lot more leaving if you would just stop. Oh, really? Okay. I had a fella call me yesterday, and he was upset about something totally unrelated, but in the same vein as... And so we had a talk, and he said to me, he said when they had the public meeting in Greenville, that was when his eyes began to open. He said, when we got home, I had a conversation with my wife about the fact that Ray was lying at that meeting. He said, I told my wife, he knows that's the standard, but he sat there and lied and said, we don't do this or that. Here's the fact of the matter. You know why they had that meeting down there in Greenville? Listen carefully. Because this man right here, John Miller, and another fella, and at one time, a lot of people, like 20 of us, were out at the end of their driveway. Yes, I had my bullhorn to penetrate the cars as they drove past, both on the highway and coming in and out of the compound. So yeah, I had my bullhorn. And we had signs, and we had presence. We were present on the ground. And you know what? That which they say they don't like my methods produced the meeting that this man, who has said multiple times he doesn't like my methods, his eyes began to open at that meeting. So what? What do you want me to do with that? Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with it. To me, it's encouraging. Even though he not only speaks but behaves, because he doesn't offer any interviews, doesn't offer to go public about anything with me, okay? While he's over here saying he doesn't agree with me and has been contrary, very subtly contrary, I'm happy nonetheless, because I know that his eyes were beginning to open because of what I've done. So am I going to quit? No. It'd be foolish for me to quit. To me, that would be careless if I would quit. Be foolish. By the way, this fella that replies to this lady's comment is her dad, I believe. No, that'd be her husband, which I've never met at all. Never met him. Might be her brother. I don't know. So anyway, they've made this thing. Oh, I think I said this in another video, but I'm going to say it again because people don't listen to all the videos. I was told by one that even liked one of these comments on here that he didn't even know what Tinder was until he read the comment that one of these were accusing me of doing. Brother Harlan even told me, he said, yeah, I didn't know nothing about it, Adam, and I read the comments, and he said, I looked it up. It's like, okay, yeah. So while the Bible says, while they promise you liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. They themselves are the servants of corruption. So they want to present themselves that they've got the better way. They've got the higher road because, I don't know, because what? They're sitting on their couch doing nothing except coming on and blaspheming and contradicting my posts. So, do I apologize for the post? No. Am I glad he gone? Yes. Am I glad I did the post? Yes. Because all these comments, they're going to gender something. If anything else, it's going to clear the air after all the dust settles. And then maybe we can get on with some meaningful dialogue. So, you know, God is in control of all these things. And, you know, I could look at this and say, oh, woe is me. And, and just get all banged up because it appears that they're coming out on all sides against me. It's not going to happen, folks. I've got too much training for this. And so when you see the end of this, God's got something bigger in mind. It could be that one of these that are commenting the way they are, hey, Adam, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, brother. I've been thinking about this, and I would like to do a sit down with you, or I would like to do a Zoom call with you and get my story out. You know, I went to the ministry. I went to this one and that one. I couldn't get anywhere. They kicked me out. They silenced me. And yeah, I was upset, and I wasn't looking at things straight. And yes, I was listening to people within the cult and people that had formerly left the cult, and they told me some things about you that I've discovered aren't true. And I want to get my story out now. I, like you, want to bring it before the church and let the church judge. Because face it, folks, when Jesus said, and you go to him and you can't win him, you bring others with you and you can't win him, he said, then you bring it before the church and you let the church judge. Not the leadership. The church. The people as a whole. You let the church judge. And so that's why I do what I do. Why in the world do you do the things you do? Because I want to bring it before the church. And you know what? Everybody knows. One of my concerns that it drifted away. It didn't linger long when I seen the bigger picture was that people would be turned off from the church by me exposing, quote, the church. But when you get out and you talk to people, whether in church and or out of the church, you will learn that people realize all over the world that which has formerly and presently been called church is really in a mess. It really is. Anybody reading their Bibles and attending XYZ function, it doesn't take you very long to realize, okay, wait a minute. All right, they're on here, they're on here, they're on here, but over here, And even then, some of these things are opinion driven, where they're, you view something in a different way, but you think they're off just because it's your opinion. And so there's all kinds of things that the devil has used and the flesh has used to keep us divided and at one another's throats. But the bigger picture is when you realize who God is and you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ where you don't have people like this one here. This is Stephen P. Hargrave right here, mowing off the heads of those. Okay, so they're watching their phones here. As the people watch Cult Busters, they begin to look up. And then as their heads are popping up, you got the leaders of the people that caused them to err mowing them off. And that quote says, if y'all knew the grace of God bestowed upon you by having your wives under me. Stephen P. Hargrave, West Milton, 2022. So when you realize that it's leaders like that cause the people to err, and you don't need that, but you need Jesus. You need the written word of God, and you need to believe it and obey it and allow God by his Spirit to lead and guide you into all truth. When you realize that, you can go anywhere. Really, almost anywhere. I went to a Jehovah's Witness compound one time. Man, it was just like any other church I've been in, really. As far as they actually had I kind of liked their style. They had a little bit different. Every church has their mode or their operation or their peculiarities that are peculiar to their particular group that is developed by, you know, the leaders there and or the people that are there. The Amish are that way. They vote for whatever, mowers. Some Amish have what is called a reel mower. It's just a mower that you push and it's got that reel cutter that rolls as you push it. And I've got friends in that particular Amish church, and I joke with them and I say, these are my real Amish friends. But, so Jesus is the only way, folks. Religious leaders like this and false brethren that run their mouth behind the scenes, and some of them aren't even brethren. They're professed atheists. Totally hate the church. And some of which I've had conversations with, and they're very friendly on the phone. Very friendly. Had nice conversations with them. But they're backstabbers. They're not honest. And so, I'll cover this real quick. So I did this, I'm glad he's gone post. And again, all it has is the first name on here. I had to stop and think, is that the last name or the first name? Davis can be taken for a first name or a last name, folks. And so it's got a name on here. That's it. And I just simply mentioned that I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad somebody left the cult. They completely freak out about it. So then I go and I make another post. I would be embarrassed if I followed D. Ray Tinsman and Stephen P. Hargrave. They blew that up. Dragging stuff from we'll call it the Davis Post, since they've dubbed it now. Dragging stuff from the Davis Post over onto that one. So then that created another response. Me stirring the pot, or a person stirring the pot. Painmore looking in the pot for more iniquity to expose. So there was a series of like 4 or 5 posts that sprung from the one post. You know, and again, while they promise you liberty, while they try to tell you the right way to walk on water, they themselves are sinking to the bottom. Jesus is the way. There is no other name given among men whereby we must be saved. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. Keep coming back to the page. I just posted a series, a 1 of 7 series that Brother Rhymes did a couple years back, and he passed away. He ended up in the hospital just a few months after he'd done this, passed away like 6 months later, and Harlan and I was just talking about this earlier, and I was able to find it, and I got it saved and uploaded now. So there you have it. I went through them. I think the whole thing was sound, but I wanted Brother Harlan to double check it. And that was the hang up during those times. And Brother Harlan, you got him now. You have to go through them. He went like halfway, and then, you know, we're busy. But it's very good stuff. How to come out of an unhealthy church group. Okay? So 7 steps, and I think he did an excellent job. So, Brother Bernie, I think he did an excellent job. The Jesus Replaced Church, it's pinned at the top of Cult Busters and featured. There's a lot of information on here, a lot. And it's all geared toward not creating the Church of Adam's choice, as some of you might believe or think. It's not geared towards creating some mega church or some mega following or anything like that. We just want you to have the truth. We want you to have it, know it, and understand it, and live it. That's it. That's why we do what we do. All right. Lord bless y'all. I'm going to leave you with that. Paying out. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.